Shanji Ibero. I don't think I'd get a huge argument if I was to say that I would consider him one of the top 5 competitors out of the last 25 years in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and submission grappling. He was the total package. Strength, technique, pressure, takedowns, submissions, heart. His competition record speaks for itself. The interesting thing about him, or a little story I can tell you about him, is I have a friend that's a judo player, and he's not super into the jiu-jitsu world. He doesn't really kind of know who the major players are. But it does happen that Shanji was working on his judo black belt, and he was at my friend's home gym. And my friend made the comment offhand to me that's this guy came in and he was working on his judo, and I wasn't super impressed with his judo. I could do what I wanted to with him on the feet. But when it hit the ground, he was like, oh my God, I couldn't do anything to the guy. Interestingly enough, my friend is significantly larger and stronger than even Shanji is, by a wide margin. So it was interesting they made that comment to us. Whereas a lot of people from Jiu-Jitsu, without knowing a whole lot about the judo world, would say Shanji's known for his takedowns. As a matter of fact, you can argue that his takedown over Roger Gracie was what got him the absolute title one year. But Jiu-Jitsu is obviously more than just judo. It's obviously just more of your takedown ability, or even one thing on this. To be good at Jiu-Jitsu, to be a champion level Jiu-Jitsu player in the modern age right now, I'm going to argue that it's going to be this whole combination of factors. You're more than the sum of your parts, and I think Shanji certainly is. So in this clip, when he's fighting in the Golden Cup in 2004 against Montana, I think there's an interesting thing. You can see Shanji's takedowns in action, but you can see much more how he plays as a jiu-jitsu player, much more what leads to the greatness of Shanji. Let's take a look at this match. Now again, for reference, this is the Golden Cup back in 2004. When my friend was working with Shanji, I think that was at least 10 years later. So the judo and the takedown level is, let's say, primitive right now. Two things that a judo person would never do is, number one, you're not allowed to take a stance where your butt's way out and you're reaching out like that. That would be illegal in judo. You have to stand more upright. And number two, if you're actually fighting a judo person, it's going to be way harder to get any kind of grips on them at all. Judo is all about the grips. They'll fight that really well. I've worked with some folks, you just can't even get a hold of their knees. Whereas jiu-jitsu folks, we tend to go ahead and grab one right there. We'll grab one, we'll trade the grips, and then we'll kind of wander around and play with it. Not to say that I'm a judo guy right now, but I do have an appreciation of it, and there are some kind of definite differences between the arts. And there's certainly, you can argue, that there's a difference between the takedown sophistications. But it's what works for you in your particular art. It's what's good for you at a particular point. Now that was a nice takedown attempt by Shanji right there, where it looks like he did a snap down into a fireman's carry, which ironically enough would not be legal in judo. Now, one of the interesting things about being able to do takedowns in jiu-jitsu is because of the rules and restrictions that you have in judo, you wouldn't be allowed to do stuff like that. You can't reach out for the legs. And better yet, you can see how Shanji is able to quickly go into that transition to a clock choke into looking like a bow and arrow choke right now. Again, because of the continuation, the action, the way you're able to go through. Now Shanji certainly, again, as soon as it hits the ground, Shanji's going to be at work, and there we go. Quick finish on this one. I think it's fun to look at the older clips of the guys and see where their evolution is, what their potential weaknesses might have been at one point to where they got stronger. I'm not calling Shanji's takedowns a weakness at this point. I actually find it really inspiring that even after all the success he's had between IBJJF, Abu Dhabi, and considered one of the greatest grapplers of all time, that he was still humble enough to want to go to a judo studio and actually legitimately earn his black belt in judo.